Available across the Cayman Islands from Tortuga Distributors. Accept no substitutes. Taste the feeling with Coca-Cola. Brand Source Home Gallery. Inspiring luxury. West Bay Pharmacy. Taking care of your health. And JN Money.
From abroad to yard.
Fast, affordable, convenient. Doctor's Hospital. Peace of mind is important when life happens. Doctor's Hospital. Always there for you. Call 949-6066. And by the STEPS 2023 National Health Survey. Visit gov.ky/steps to learn more. And Cayman Airways. Call them on 949-2311 to book your nonstop flights to Los Angeles and Panama.
This is For the Record with Orrett Connor.
Coming to you live from Radio Cayman Studio.
For the record.
For the record. For the record. Hear from your government officials, independents, and the opposition on issues that matter to you. For the record. Engage in an open dialogue between residents and lawmakers.
For the record.
For the record. For the record. Informative, impartial, insightful.
This is your talk show.
1-800-534-8255. Your calls, your input. This is For the Record. And now, your host, Orrett Connor.
Good morning, good morning, good morning, O land of soft, fresh breezes and verdant trees. So fair. Today is Wednesday, the 14th day of June, 2023, right here in the beautiful Cayman Islands. So we hope and we trust that everyone had a restful, a peaceful, an enjoyable evening. And those of you who are on the roads of the Cayman Islands, whether you're a pedestrian, a cyclist, or if you're operating any type of motorized vehicle, we urge you to please, 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 please be extremely cautious. Ensure that you observe the rules of the road. If you're operating a vehicle, you want to drive defensively, meaning you want to be aware of your surroundings. Also give yourself enough space to maneuver in the event of an incident occurring. Always make it a habit when you're driving. You may have 3 lanes of traffic. You avoid driving parallel to the vehicle alongside of you. You want to be able to see that vehicle without having to turn your head. So you should be slightly, even though you're in a different lane, slightly behind the vehicle so that you can see them. Give yourself enough space. When you see congestion up ahead, when all of the cars starting to crowd up together, back off, because that's where the fender benders and all of the accidents happen as well. So if you don't know about defensive driving, those of you who have the wherewithal to do so, Google it and see what defensive driving is all about, because you can protect yourselves on the road despite the carelessness and the recklessness of others, as well. And always remember, if you follow those rules, if you drive defensively, the life you save may just be your own. For those of you who are celebrating a birthday, or if you celebrated a birthday over the past few days, we do want to wish you a happy birthday or a belated one, and to remind you that the For the Record birthday shoutouts are proudly brought to you by More Than Words, your gateway to local books and more. Connect to your culture. Tap in to your roots. More Than Words, located on the 2nd floor of the Thompson Building. Those of you who have lost loved ones, we want to express our sincere condolences to you. We hope and we trust that your faith will help to carry you through these extremely challenging times, and also that the memories of your loved ones will be a blessing to you. Those of you who are ill and are either at home or at a medical facility here in the Cayman Islands or overseas, or are planning on traveling overseas for medical attention, we wish you a speedy recovery as well. So, folks, I want to thank you for allowing Radio Cayman, and by extension, For the Record, into your homes, into your vehicles as you traverse the busy roads of the Cayman Islands, into your places of work, wherever that may be. As you know, For the Record is a show produced by the staff and management of Radio Cayman, and it is geared towards keeping you abreast of issues as they arise and play out on the local, regional, and international scene. I am your host, Orrett Connor, and you're welcome to join me every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, unless it's a holiday. So you're welcome to join me on those days on For the Record as well. You can call us on our toll-free numbers that we have. We allow you to participate in the program as well. Of course, this morning in the studio with us, still not on vacation yet. I won't tell you when she's going. When you don't hear that radio voice, then you know that she is on vacation. But this morning, we have that beautiful radio voice, again, of Miss Susan Watson, waiting to take your call. So if you want to participate in a conversation, you can call us. Is our toll-free number still out of operation, Miss Susan? We have a toll-free number, which is 1-800-534-8255. You can try it. If it's not working, then we have other options. You can call us on 949-6990, 949-8037 as well. Then we of course, have a WhatsApp number. We can only accommodate one caller at a time on that number as well, 925-3261. You can follow us on YouTube as well. And, of course, we are on Facebook also. This morning, we do have guests coming into the studio at 8:30 this morning. We will be discussing the climate change policy public consultation that will be taking place. That discussion will take place with Miss Lisa Ann Hurlston McKenzie from the Ministry of Sustainability and Climate Resilience. She's the Senior Advisor for the Environment and Resiliency. Also, Mr. Timothy Austin will be in the studio with us. He's from the Department of Environment, the Deputy Director there. Mr. John Tibbetts, Cayman Islands National Weather Service, the Director General there, and Mr. Simon Boxall, who is the public, trying to bring that up there, but he's the Public Awareness and Training Officer at the Hazard Management Cayman Islands as well. So let me repeat that one. Mr. Simon Boxall, who is the Public Advisor and Training Officer at the Cayman Islands Hazard Management. So they will be on from 8:30 until 10 o'clock talking about the consultation. We encourage you to listen in. I'm sure that they will also allow for calls to come in as well. I want to participate in that. Of course, we know that some of you will say, well, you know, while we have to concern ourselves about putting food on the table and dealing with the financial institutions as far as our mortgages and stuff is concerned, you know, how can we concentrate on climate resiliency? Well, you have to be able to walk and chew gum at the same time, you know, as well. But this is extremely important to you also, because while taking care of your mortgages and stuff like that has something to do with your existence, the whole climate situation, that is even more important to your existence on this planet as well. So we urge you to participate if you can. Okay, we have some belated birthday greetings that we want to share with you this morning as well. So we understand that Ms. Beulah McField, she celebrated her birthday on the 12th of June. Mr. Byron Derek Ebanks, some of you may also know him as Stormy. Byron Derek Ebanks. And birthday greetings are coming from, Miss Charlene Pert, Kenny, also from Kenny and Cassie. Not sure if Byron Ebanks is listening because, if this was called, Radio Cayman was called Fox News, then he would be listening. He's a staunch Republican, but I'm sure that someone will hear this and pass it on to him that we are wishing him belated happy birthday. That is Byron Derek Ebanks, also known as Stormy, or some of you may know him as Derek Ebanks, as well. And Miss Beulah McField also. Minister Turner celebrated a birthday also. Susan, do you recall when that was? I think it may have been on Monday as well. We'll double check that and see. And I did mention it when it was coming up, so we want to wish Minister Turner belated happy birthday as well. And today Kim Voden is celebrating her birthday, a birthday today. Kim Voden celebrating her birthday, so happy birthday to those persons. Do I have any more here? Okay, here we go. This person says, pleasant good morning. Can you please wish my great-grandsons, the twins, they're twins, great-grandsons, they are twins, Mason and Matthias, who celebrated their birthday yesterday, the 13th of June. And, of course, these greetings are coming from their great-grandma, Ruth James, wishing God's riches, blessings, also from the rest of the family with lots of love. So twins, Mason and Matthias, who celebrated your birthday yesterday. Belated happy birthday greetings coming from your grandmother, Ruth James, and the rest of the family as well. Folks, we're going to take a commercial break. When we return before the 8 o'clock news, I'm going to share this press release that was issued, a statement by the Cayman Islands Bankers Association in relation to the interest rates. We have finally, when I say we, I'm not saying necessarily Radio Cayman, but all of you who have spoken out about it, we have finally flushed them out of the bushes, the Bankers Association, to get them to say something about the interest rates rather than just sending you those email messages saying, as a result of the U.S. Federal Reserve raising the interest rates, within the next 2 days or 3 days, your interest rates will go up by blah, blah, blah. So let's see what they have to say as well, because we have flushed them out, finally flushed them out. Folks, please stay tuned for the record. We'll be back shortly.
The Cayman Islands boasts of a long, colorful, and rich history. In tribute to our roots, Radio Cayman, the voice of the Cayman Islands, is pleased to bring you the Historical Vignette Series, brought to you by Rotary Central. For more than 110 years, Rotary members have used their passion, energy, and intelligence to take action on sustainable projects. The Cayman Islands, he hath founded it upon the seas.
John Theophilus Bodden, 1883 to 1969. Certificate of Honor.
Theophilus Bodden served the District of East End with distinction for many years. Several times he was elected as a vestryman. He was an ordained elder of the East End Adventist Church, which he served for 53 years. He was married to Claudina Nee Jackson, with whom he had 4 children. He was a seaman and later a farmer and fisherman. While sailing on the United States ships, he was shipwrecked twice. The first time, the men were with the ship for 16 days before being rescued. The second time, they were adrift in a life raft for 12 days. Mr. Bodden touched the lives of many people in the Cayman Islands.
Since 1993, Rotary Central has worked diligently each year to provide quality bus shelters to our community. a traveling convenience to our school children, the elderly, young people going to work, guest workers, and visitors using the public bus. We, Rotary Central, help you, our advertisers, make it happen. Your marketing dollar travels a far way. Positioning your message, your product, your services, your presence in over 83 bus shelters. Every dollar you spend, every advert you place helps to build another bus shelter, providing modest comfort for Cayman travelers. Reserve space now on the only billboard medium in the Cayman Islands. Email rotaryshelters@gmail.com. rotaryshelters@gmail.com. The Bus Shelters, a partner in community convenience. Another inspiration program by Rotary Central Cayman Islands.
Radio Cayman's historical vignettes was brought to you by Rotary Central. For more than 110 years, Rotary members have used their passion, energy, and intelligence to take action on sustainable projects.
At Doctors Hospital, we know life happens, and usually when you least expect it. So when unexpected medical issues arise, you need quality care close to home. Located in the heart of Georgetown, our accomplished team of physicians and medical staff treat minor urgent conditions such as migraines, chest and abdominal pain, shortness of breath, burns, broken bones, open wounds, and more. 24 hours, 7 days a week with no appointment necessary. Peace of mind is important when life happens. At Doctors Hospital, we're always here just for you. Need to speak to someone? Call 949-6066.
Did you know that you can send money transfers to financial institutions anywhere in Jamaica with JN Money?
You mean I can send money straight to my account and cut out the middleman?
Yes, that's exactly what I mean. You send your own money to your own account, giving you peace of mind that the money is in your account.
JN Money Transfers to Financial Institution is another convenient service offered by JN Money. You can have this done from any JN Money location. Deposit your money straight to your account without the hassle of asking someone to do it for you. JN Money Transfers to Financial Institutions, making life easier.
What's that? No sugar, same amazing taste? Coca-Cola Zero Sugar is here to stay. Classic taste, pure satisfaction. Be sure to stop into any Tortuga location and get your own case of Coke Zero. Or grab an ice-cold one straight from the cooler. Brought to you by Tortuga Distributors Limited. Coca-Cola, taste the feeling, Cayman.
What exactly are the steps in the STEPS 2023 National Health Survey? Step 1 is a questionnaire where you'll be asked about your health behaviors and lifestyle choices. Step 2 involves home measurements like height, weight, and blood pressure. Lastly, Step 3 is a finger prick blood sample for cholesterol and glucose. STEPS 2023 starts on June 3rd. Learn more by logging on to www.gov.ky/steps.
Your dream home starts with a vision, and often inspiration is at the heart of that vision. Brand Source Home Gallery's in-house designers are here to help bring your vision to life. Whether you're remodeling or building a new home, Brand Source Home Gallery is your one-stop solution. Explore their kitchen cabinets, sinks, faucets, bath fixtures, tubs, vanities, and more. Let Brand Source's designers help and inspire you with your next project. Call 623-5000 and schedule an appointment with a design expert at Brand Source Home Gallery, Dorsey Drive, Industrial Park, serving Cayman for 50 years.
More Than Words, your gateway to local books and more. Connect to your culture. Tap into your roots. More Than Words bookstore in the Thompson Building. Supplies local books, gifts, trinkets, keepsakes, wall plaques, and journals. The hub for local authors. More Than Words. So much more. More Than Words is now open. Shop number 4, 2nd floor Thompson Building. Or call 936-5544.
System 1 loaded.
1-800-534-8255. What is on your mind when it comes to the government, independence, and the opposition? Issues that matter to you. 1-800-534-8255. Waiting to hear from you. For the Record.
This is For the Record with Orrett Connor.
Good morning and welcome back to For the Record. No guests in the studio yet. We will have guests later on. And I have shared with you earlier who will be in the studio. We have about, 7 minutes, less than 7 minutes. So the press release, a statement issued by the Cayman Islands Bankers Association, and it reads, Cayman's banks have always been an integral part of the Cayman Islands' success and growth of the economy. By being trusted stakeholders with a vested interest in the ongoing success of the Cayman Islands and its people, Cayman's banks have supported our community and clients through many financial cycles by ensuring confident, stable, and sustainable access to liquidity that helps businesses grow, creates jobs, and contributes to the high standard of living of the people throughout these islands. In every unique situation, the changing market cycles, the banks in Cayman have acted responsibly and thoughtfully, always seeking to help customers with sound advice, support, and solutions. Notably, throughout the recent changes in the interest rate environment, banks have proactively responded by offering a variety of fixed-rate loan options, often below the prime rate, thus providing the opportunity of stability and predictability for borrowers. The uptake of fixed-rate loans has increased significantly since last year, as many customers have chosen to mitigate their risk. Banks have continued to offer sound financial advice to customers, including strategies to pay down high-interest debt and improve financial management, as well as ongoing tips on budgeting and saving have been shared through social media and websites, empowering individuals to make informed financial decisions. Cayman's banks work closely with customers during times of growth and expansion, and also work individually with clients experiencing financial difficulty, exploring possible solutions and loan restructuring to provide support during challenging times. As a result of ongoing dialogue and support of customers, delinquency levels to date remain low and stable across the country. We continue to encourage clients to approach their lending banks directly to discuss any concerns and access options that may be available to them individually. Cayman's banks adjust interest rates in alignment with the U.S. Federal Reserve's rate decisions. According to some experts, the current interest rate cycle is anticipated to be nearing its peak, with expectations of rates trending downwards in the near future. Many years ago, the Cayman Islands prime rate was aligned to the U.S. dollar prime rate. This helps mitigate the potential imbalances in the financial system, ensuring consistency and continued stability throughout the market cycles. Any changes to the current rate setting convention could create an imbalance between funding costs and borrowing rates. Such an imbalance could potentially result in banks deploying capital elsewhere. As a consequence, access to credit locally could tighten. I would ask them to please put that a little bit more in layman's language, because, you know, some of your borrowers, including me, I'm not a borrower now, but, you know, some of this may be Greek to me. So, you know, put that in layman's language for us. Why is it that you have to follow the U.S. interest rates, right? Goes on to say that Cayman financial services structure has worked well for many years. Yes, these are my words now. It worked very, very well for you, the banks, yes. It has proven to be robust and resilient, as reflected by Cayman having one of the strongest, most stable economies and financial services centers in the world. The Cayman Islands Bankers Association members reaffirmed their commitment to promoting an environment of collaboration and financial stability, supporting borrowers during difficult periods and contributing to the long-term prosperity of the Cayman Islands. So that is there. Let me try to read this part again and see if we can make sense of it. It says, many years ago, the Cayman Islands dollar prime rate was aligned to the U.S. dollar prime rate. This helps to mitigate potential imbalances in the financial system, ensuring consistency and continued stability throughout market cycles. Any changes to the current rate setting convention could create an imbalance between funding costs and borrowing rates. Such an imbalance could potentially result in banks deploying capital elsewhere. As a consequence, access to credit locally could be tightened. So they have told us that the Cayman Islands dollar prime rate was aligned to the U.S. dollar prime rate many years ago. So they're giving us that fact. But what they're not saying, what they're not justifying there is, as a result of us being aligned to that, what does that have to do with the price of bread or price of sugar? In other words, what does that have to do with us having to increase our prime rate here when the U.S. prime rate was increased? Is it just because we are aligned with them? Some people have speculated and say, oh, well, you know, those banks, they borrow, from U.S., the U.S. Federal Reserve or whatever the banking system is there, and as a result of that, they have to pay their interest rate. They haven't said that here. All they have said is that the Cayman Islands prime dollar prime rate has been aligned with the U.S. prime rate, and as a result of that, because we align our U.S. Cayman dollar with the U.S. dollar, that gives them the justification for increasing the prime rates when the U.S. increased those. That's my take on it. If someone has a different take, please let us know, folks. Top of the hour, 8 o'clock news. Please stay tuned for the record. We'll be back immediately after the 8 o'clock news.
Thank you, Mr. Connor. And studio time by Foster's is a minute after 8.
Hey, have you started preparing for hurricane season yet?
Not yet. I'm not sure where to start.
Well, making a grocery shopping list is a good place to begin. You'll want to stock up on non-perishable food items like canned goods, peanut butter, and crackers.
What about water?
Definitely. You'll want to have plenty of bottled water on hand. And don't forget about hygiene and first aid supplies.
That's a good point.
Foster's has a great emergency kit checklist online. Just go to fosters.ky or look out for the helpful signs when shopping in store. Foster's. Better because we care.
The voice of the Cayman Islands.
89.9 FM in Grand Cayman and 93.9 FM in Cayman Brac and Little Cayman.
Silver wings shining in the sunlight.
Radio Cayman.
The 8 a.m. news is brought to you by ValueMed Pharmacy. Save time and order your prescription refills online at value-medpharmacy.com. VALU-medpharmacy.com.
For today's biggest news.
Radio Cayman, the voice of the Cayman Islands.
With your latest news, I'm Carsley Fuller. The Premier says government could consider re-implementing the 2022 Electricity Assistance Program if it's deemed necessary and funding is available. Speaking to an $8.5 million supplemental appropriation for the one-off program that ran for 6 months at the end of last year, the Honorable Wayne Panton told MPs and West Bay Representative the Honorable Makiba Bush specifically that the program helped some 22,000 households.
And you say you're not doing it again? You better do it again. You see all these bills we getting now?
I'm not disagreeing with you, sir. I was just pointing out that it wasn't continuing at this time.
So and you're not doing it again?
That decision remains to be made. If circumstances arise which the government feels it is necessary to do so, it may be willing to do so, subject to funding.
Mr. Panton says this is an issue that his government is keen to address, with several programs planned to help homeowners address rising electricity costs, such as a DIY energy audit to help them improve power efficiency in their homes.
The government will consider ways to assist as much as possible. There are a number of other initiatives that are being rolled out as well, which will be helping people who qualify and who are most in need. But that does not preclude the possibility of government considering, if the projections are that costs will continue to escalate as they were projected summer last year, that we wouldn't try to find funding to address the needs in terms of a further assistance program.
In other news, work is set to start soon on a new national public and affordable housing policy. The project description for the new tender posted by government says, like many countries in the region and internationally, Cayman has undergone significant and rapid changes over the last few years. And despite these many changes, the Ministry of Housing recognizes the need to develop a national public and affordable housing and 10-year strategy plan. The policy and plan will serve as the, quote, guiding document to alleviate and solve housing and sheltering challenges for Cayman's most vulnerable, with the goal of closing the gap between Caymanians and their ability to purchase affordable homes. The ministry is looking to contract a consultant to help in the development and updating of the policy and plan. According to the government's Bonfire Hub Procurement website, the request for proposals runs through July 17th. Now with a check of international news, here's the BBC, which will take us out of the newscast. I'm Karsley Fuller from Radio Cayman's newsroom.
BBC News with Emily Thomas. Nearly 60 migrants are confirmed dead after their boat capsized off the coast of Greece. More than 100 were rescued, but it's not clear how many were on board. It's thought the migrants were trying to reach Italy after departing from Libya. The Greek Coast Guard said the vessel refused help on Tuesday. The European Parliament has approved a draft plan to regulate the use of artificial intelligence. The aim is to foster the potential of AI to transform society while limiting the harm it may cause. The EU is also working with the United States on a voluntary code of conduct. The French Environment Minister has warned of serious water shortages. Restrictions have been in place since March, but enduring drought means the water table is still below normal in most places. South Korea says North Korean hackers have created a fake version of the internet platform Naver to harvest personal information from users. Naver is South Korea's most popular internet portal. Chancellor Scholz has presented modern Germany's first national security strategy. He said the situation had changed fundamentally because of Russia's attack on Ukraine and the sabotage of the Nord Stream gas pipelines. Egypt has executed a man who murdered a university classmate after she rejected his marriage proposal. The killing, which was captured on video, caused national outrage and a renewed debate about violence against women. More than a dozen companies, mainly from Saudi Arabia, are bidding for 2 million tonnes of carbon credits at an auction in Kenya. Demand for carbon offsets is growing fast as companies seek to reach their target of net zero emissions. The comic book artist John Romita Sr., who helped create some of Marvel's most famous characters, has died. He was 93. BBC News.
The 8 a.m. news is brought to you by ValueMed Pharmacy. Save time and order your prescription refills online at value-medpharmacy.com. VALU-medpharmacy.com.
Now, more than ever, supporting your immune system is crucial to helping your body fight off illnesses like the common cold, the flu, and COVID-19. At ValueMed Pharmacy on Walkers Road and in Buttontown, we carry all the essential vitamins and minerals to help support your immune system and improve your overall health. Some of our top immunity support picks are vitamin C, vitamin D, zinc, elderberry, and quercetin, or the popular 7-in-1 immunity support. Our pharmacists are always on hand to help guide you and answer any questions. Visit ValueMed Pharmacy on Walkers Road or Buttontown. Live happy, live healthy with ValueMed Pharmacy.
Stay in touch with Radio Cayman with the latest up-to-date, accurate news and information. For your convenience, the headline news will be repeated on our sister station, Breeze 105.3 FM, weekdays at 8:30 a.m. Follow Radio Cayman on social media, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, or download the Radio Cayman app in the App Store or log on to www.radiocayman.gov.ky and stay connected to what's happening in the community. Radio Cayman, your voice, your choice, your radio.
You know, as a little girl, I dreamt of traveling to faraway places and foreign lands. I tell you what though, no more dreaming. This summer, I going flying with Cayman Airways. How blessed are we in the Cayman Islands to have a very own national airline? Girl, you can fly to so many international destinations without the hassle of connecting flights. On top of Jamaica, Cuba, and Honduras, you got non-stop flights from Cayman to New York, Miami, Tampa, and even Denver, Los Angeles, and now Panama. Going to be a little cafe con leche and Hollywood Squares for this old gal this summer.
Make your travel dreams come true with Cayman Airways, offering non-stop flights for non-stop adventures in Panama, LA, and many more places in between. For details and to book, call 949-2311, contact a travel agent, or visit CaymanAirways.com.
This Father's Day, celebrate the hero in your life with the perfect gift from Reflections Clothing Store. Sale, sale, sale. Save 10 to 75% off brands like Dockers, Levi's, US Polo, Nike, Reebok, Puma, Adidas, Nautica, and more. From timeless classics to modern trends and athletic wear, Reflections has the perfect fit for dad. Save even more with our clearance baskets. Everything priced $10 or less. Don't miss the chance to save big while making dad look his best. Celebrate dad in style and save 10 to 75% off on Dockers, Levi's, US Polo, Nike, Reebok, Puma, Adidas, Nautica, and more. Only at Reflections Clothing Store, Shedden Road, beside Mango Tree, and across from Kirk Napa. Open Monday through Thursday, 9 a.m. till 8 p.m. Friday and Saturday, 9 till 9.
The Ministry of Sustainability and Climate Resiliency wants your feedback on the draft National Climate Change Policy. Public meetings are scheduled for West Bay, Georgetown, Boddentown, East End, and North Side between the 6th to the 15th of June. To view the full list of meeting dates, times, and venues, visit gov.ky/climate change policy. Join representatives from the Ministry, Department of Environment, Hazard Management, and the National Weather Service to learn about the draft policy and give your feedback. Log on to gov.ky/climate change policy today to learn more.
The 8:12 a.m. weather report brought to you by CG Britcay, where people come first.
Good morning. Let's take a look at the latest weather report. Current temperature is 84 degrees. Relative humidity is 79%. The barometric pressure is 29.94 inches and rising. The wind is out of the east-northeast at 10 knots. Overnight low temperature was 80 degrees. Synopsis indicate moderate winds and seas expected across the Cayman Islands over the next 24 hours as a high-pressure system builds over the western Atlantic Ocean. Radar images show isolated showers in and around the Cayman Islands moving towards the northwest. Now, the forecast for today calling for partly cloudy skies with a 30% chance of showers, and temperatures will be in the upper 80s. Winds will be east to southeast at 10 to 15 knots, and seas will be moderate with wave heights of 3 to 5 feet. Pretty much the same for tonight, partly cloudy skies with a 30% chance of showers, and temperatures falling to the upper 70s tonight. Winds will be east to southeast at 10 to 15 knots, and seas will be moderate with wave heights of 3 to 5 feet for tonight as well. Low tide will be this afternoon at 1:33, high tide this evening at 8:17, sunset 3 minutes past 7, and the sun will rise tomorrow morning at 5:48. And the outlook is calling for similar weather conditions through Friday morning.
Mommy, why can't dogs talk? Why do I have to go to school and you don't? Why do you sing in the morning when you're bad at it? Why don't you brush your teeth when you take me to school? Why doesn't it ever snow here? Why does Daddy take the bus to work? Why are trees so tall? Why don't you tell me where babies come from? Mommy, Mommy, Mommy!
We're like a kid that doesn't ask a million questions before noon. CG Britcay. Good like that.
The 8:12 a.m. weather report brought to you by CG Britcay, where people come first.
During these unprecedented times, Radio Cayman, the voice of the Cayman Islands, is pleased to bring you the Cayman Strong Series. The Cayman Strong Series is brought to you by OnCourse Cayman. Visit oncourse.ky to view a full list of wellness services and their qualified team. OnCourse Cayman, health, wellness, and happiness.
Achieving our goals is rewarding, but at times can feel frustrating, especially if and when we miss our target. As you approach your goals in life, set yourself up for success. When setting your goals, break it down. Once the long-term goals are set, work backwards to set smaller and more manageable goals. These should be specific, measurable, and achievable. For example, study in the library for 1 hour 3 times per week instead of study more. Consider daily, weekly, yearly goals as success to help you focus on the essential steps today to ensure you are prepared when tomorrow's opportunities become available. Change your thinking and change your life.
During these unprecedented times, Radio Cayman, the voice of the Cayman Islands, is pleased to bring you the Cayman Strong Series. The Cayman Strong Series is brought to you by OnCourse Cayman. Visit oncourse.ky to view a full list of wellness services and their qualified team. OnCourse Cayman, health, wellness, and happiness.
These days, feelings of loneliness, anxiety, stress, and depression can be overwhelming. Just know you are not alone. OnCourse Cayman offers private mental health services for children, teens, adults, and groups. Visit oncourse.ky to view a full list of wellness services and their qualified team. OnCourse Cayman, health, wellness, and happiness.
The traffic report is brought to you by Subway. Planning a meeting, event, or office celebration? Visit subway.ky to place your catering order today.
Good morning once again. Let's take a look this time at traffic. Bumper-to-bumper traffic on Shamrock Road past the Tomlinson roundabout. And as you approach at the Linford Pearson Highway, traffic is bumper-to-bumper. Delays expected. Coming off of Bobby Thompson Way, steady traffic coming off of Agnes Way off the Linford Pearson Highway. And traffic is also steady on Cool Road heading to Georgetown. Eastbound traffic in Cool Road moving on pretty good. Godfrey Nixon Way and Eastern Avenue flowing moderately in both directions. Owen Roberts Drive, light to moderate traffic flow. And traffic is flowing moderately in both directions on the West Bay Road in front of the Ritz. Into Georgetown on Shedden Road, looking pretty good. Out of Georgetown on Shedden Road, traffic is light. And as we look to Huldah Avenue, steady traffic. And on Elgin Avenue, traffic is moderate. And that's the very latest on your traffic. Join us again. At about 10 minutes after 12 o'clock, we'll give you another traffic report. Remember, click it or ticket. Have a good morning and drive safe.
From boat days to beach gatherings, leave the catering to Subway. Choose from small and large sandwich platters, double meat wrap platters, and top it off with optional cookie platters for dessert. Or ask about our Subway Box to Go with the option of 6-inch or foot-long sandwich, 1 cookie, and 1 bag of chips for all occasions and celebrations. Let Subway focus on the food so you can focus on the fun. Visit subway.ky for catering options. Subway. Eat fresh.
The traffic report is brought to you by Subway. Planning a meeting, event, or office celebration? Visit subway.ky to place your catering order today.
Since 1993, Rotary Central has worked diligently each year to provide quality bus shelters to our community. A traveling convenience to our school children, the elderly, young people going to work, guest workers, and visitors using the public bus. We, Rotary Central, help you, our advertisers, make it happen. Your marketing dollar travels a far way. positioning your message, your product, your services, your presence in over 83 bus shelters. Every dollar you spend, every advert you place helps to build another bus shelter, providing modest comfort for Cayman travelers. Reserve space now on the only billboard medium in the Cayman Islands. Email rotaryshelters@gmail.com. rotaryshelters@gmail.com. The Bus Shelters, a partner in community convenience. Another inspiration program by Rotary Central Cayman Islands.
Are you ready for an incredible opportunity? Switch to Digicel this June to win a round-trip flight for two. Yes, that's right. By switching to Digicel, buying a Prime bundle, or simply paying your bill, you could be jetting off to any of the breathtaking Cayman Airways destinations.
Imagine exploring stunning beaches, vibrant cultures, and making unforgettable memories.
Visit a Digicel store near you to make the switch today. Seize this amazing opportunity. Digicel, better together.
The 22nd Annual Talent Exposition of the Arts, Humility, is here. Presented by the New Self-Help Foundation, Sunday, June 25th at the Hawkwheel Theatre. Proudly sponsored by A.L. Thompson, High Impact Media, Cayman Electrical Supply, Alba Elevators, Alba Services, Brown's Esso, Mike's Esso, Delworth's Esso, Fire Extinguishers Pros, CNCF, Domino's, Breeze Productions, and Dr. Steve Tomlinson. Tickets available from No. 1 Shoe Shop and Winner Circle Sports. Prepaid $15 or $20 at the gate.
For the record, with Orrett Connor.
Initiating system. For information that matters. For the record, with Orrett Connor. Continues right now on Radio Cayman.
Good morning and welcome back to For the Record. We're going to change the direction of the conversation now. We won't be talking about our financial institutions and high interest rates and possible foreclosures and everything else. What we will be talking about now is the consultation that has taken place in relation to climate change policy. It is a public consultation, and those consultations have been taking place throughout our districts as well. So it is my pleasure to have in the studio with me this morning for this discussion, talking about the consultation, Ms. Lisa Ann Hurlston McKenzie from the Ministry of Sustainability and Climate Resiliency. She's the Senior Policy Advisor there. Ms. Lisa, good morning. Welcome to For the Record.
Good morning, Mr. Orrett.
And also in the studio with us, Mr. Timothy Austin from the Department of Environment. He is the Deputy Director. Mr. Austin, good morning. Welcome to For the Record.
Good morning. Thank you for having me.
And no stranger to the studio, no stranger to Radio Cayman, especially this time of the year, hurricane season as well, Mr. John Tibbetts, who is the Director General of the Cayman Islands National Weather Center. John, good morning. Welcome to For the Record.
Good morning. It's a pleasure to be here.
And we will have in the studio later on with us the Communications and Public Awareness and Training Officer from Hazard Management Cayman, Mr. Simon Boxall. We expect to have him in the studio with us as well. So, folks, let's talk about the public consultation. And before we get in to it, let's talk about why this public consultation is necessary. You know, how important are these, topics to us, when it comes to climate sustainability and climate resilience. We see, I was on a website from another overseas territory, and they have a similar program going at the same time as well. So we know that it is important worldwide. Tell us a little bit about that.
Oh, thank you very much. I am happy to be here to answer those questions and many more. This particular consultancy is important because the last time around, I think the gentlemen that are joining me in the studio today, and maybe you too, Mr. Orrett, may recall that we had a climate change policy in draft in 2011. And that was a 4-year-long consultation process, but also there were training elements to that. And that was under a UK-funded project enhancing the capacity for adaptation in the Caribbean overseas territories. So that overseas territory that you may have just mentioned or inferred, they were probably part of that larger project that the Cayman Islands was also a part of. And they may have been successful in putting forward their climate change policy to their cabinet and had that approved. Unfortunately, ours did not advance to that stage, but this time around we have had also UK assistance with our climate change risk assessment that has been the evidence base to inform this updated policy, the 2023 to 2040 policy. So we are now out in the public. Well, we have actually been out in public for the last month and some. It started on the 1st of May, and we've been at public meetings in the Sister Islands at the end of May. We have been in all districts in Grand Cayman, save Northside, which is tomorrow night at 6 o'clock at the Northside Civic Center. And we have also been doing internal discussions with the civil service. We've had a town hall, a virtual town hall for civil servants, and upwards of 80-something civil servants have participated in that. Plus, we're getting feedback as a result of that at the chief officer level and on down. And so we're very thankful for that feedback, because this consultation is important in order for us to get us over the finish line, to get us out of a draft stage and into an actual approved and official climate change policy that we can start with the implementation plan and start actioning the measures in the strategy and in the implementation plan that the public wish to see.
Okay. Do we have any target dates that you need to achieve as well?
We absolutely do. In terms of the closure of the consultation period, that's the 30th of June. So we would ask people to feed back to us their comments through our website, which is gov.ky/climate change policy, all one word. And when you go to that website, you can scroll down and you will see where you can access the online survey and take the survey that way, or you can email us at climate@gov.ky, and that feedback should be before the 30th of June in order to have us have the time to put the consultation report together for Cabinet, as well as make the necessary changes in the draft strategy so that we can get it up to Cabinet in July.
Okay. Now, this morning, earlier in the show, when I was advising my listening and viewing audience of the fact that you would be on, I asked the rhetorical question, for those persons who have more concerns about their everyday, day-to-day existence, the price of sugar, the price of bread, having to deal with high interest rates, their mortgages going up. That is short-term existence, but then we have the long-term one as well. How do we get people interested in the future, their future, as well as their children's and their grandchildren's future when they have these daily issues to address as well? How do we get them? And anyone around the table, or if you all want to chime in on that, I would be happy to hear.
I'm happy to jump in if that's okay.
Go right ahead, Tim.
Well, so you mentioned long term, but this is actually happening now.
Yes,
and all of those things that you mentioned, those daily stresses in life, they're all impacted by this by climate change. Price of sugar changes due to global impacts around the world that are related to the climate.
Good point.
So I would say that this really, it's been going on for a long time. Obviously, Industrial Revolution and the changes to the atmosphere. But it's becoming more and more of a serious problem. We need to address it now. We need to be ready for it. So I would say that it really is. It's a now thing. How do we get people involved? Well, this kind of event, get people to recognise what's going on. It's more important for small islands than it is for larger economies. So it really is a big crisis that we need to be fully aware of, and we can prepare for it. And that will, of course, reduce much of the stress that this brings to daily life, if we can at least be prepared for it. So,
Certainly. Simon?
Yes, good morning, Asim. Good morning.
Welcome.
Everybody. Good to see you all. Yeah, I think I agree with Tim, and that was sort of on a global scale, but also locally, I think possibly you're right. People are dealing with largely putting shoes on the children's feet and dealing with the stresses of work and the commute and so on and so forth. But this also is going to result in policy changes, government's priorities, and people are seeing increasing flooding. And I was at a meeting last night with the caregivers, and people are really concerned about the water not draining away in their area, the mosquitoes. These things are happening now. We've seen the water covering the roads up by North Sound Estates. And so, government's going to make decisions possibly about changing the planning and development law and so on to take account of what we're going to be facing, particularly in the context where we're actually so vulnerable to climate change compared to so many other places just because of our geological formation with the limestone 7 feet above sea level on average. So the consequences are coming. Not just with the beach erosion and things like that, but the groundwater coming up. So what will government spend its money on? Will it do it on main sewerage or, insisting that people elevate further up? These are going to have impacts on our population, and they should have input on that, because it will, if it's not going to affect them, and it will affect everybody, but it's certainly going to affect their children and that kind of thing. So I think if they can just take a little bit of time, ask questions, and I think, the debate is good. We want to hear more people, with opposing opinions. We want to have a discussion. We don't want to just ram a policy down people's throat. We want debate and dialogue and input, and that's important. While we all around this room, I think, are strong believers that this is a serious issue, one of probably the most serious issues that the Cayman Islands faces. And if we don't deal with it now and start to address the issues, the consequences really could be pretty bad, I think, for Cayman.
Okay, we're going to take a commercial break. When we return, we still want to give Mr. Tibbetts and Miss Lisa an opportunity to answer that as well. Folks, we don't want you to change that dial. Continue to listen. If you have any feedback, once we get through this introductory stage of the conversation, we're going to try to elicit some feedback from you as well to get your views, because while they're here to talk about the public consultation and the meetings that have been taking place, some of those, most of those meetings have taken place already. So we just have North Side left. So, as the host of the show, I guess I can say I'm the boss. But I would try to use this opportunity, and we'll talk about the previous meetings as well, but to elicit some conversation from the folks out there who are listening now, and to use this show as a consultation period to hear from our listeners as well in this regard. So all of you out there who like to post on social media, in the chat, WhatsApp chat groups and stuff like that, talking about things, this is your opportunity to talk about sustainability and climate resilience as well. So please stay tuned for the record. We'll be back shortly.
What's that? No sugar, same amazing taste? Coca-Cola Zero Sugar is here to stay. Classic taste, pure satisfaction. Be sure to stop into any Tortuga location and get your own case of Coke Zero. Or grab an ice-cold one straight from the cooler. Brought to you by Tortuga Distributors Limited. Coca-Cola, taste the feeling, Cayman.
At Doctors Hospital, we know life happens, and usually when you least expect it. So when unexpected medical issues arise, you need quality care close to home. Located in the heart of Georgetown, our accomplished team of physicians and medical staff treat minor urgent conditions such as migraines, chest and abdominal pain, shortness of breath, burns, broken bones, open wounds, and more. 24 hours, 7 days a week with no appointment necessary. Peace of mind is important when life happens. At Doctors Hospital, we're always here just for you. Need to speak to someone? Call 949-6066.
Can you imagine your home completely organized? At Brand Source Custom Closets, we can. We specialize in designing and building custom closets and storage units for any room in your home, including the garage. With tailored designs and custom LED lighting solutions to fit your lifestyle and budget, our custom closets expert is committed to enhancing the value of your home with a solution that is uniquely yours. Visit our showroom or call 623-6774 to schedule a no-obligation appointment with our design expert. Brand Source Custom Closets, 209 Dorsey Drive, Industrial Park.
You know, as a little girl, I dreamt of traveling to faraway places and foreign lands. I tell you what though, no more dreaming. This summer, I'm going flying with Cayman Airways. How blessed are we in the Cayman Islands to have a very own national airline? Girl, you can fly to so many international destinations without the hassle of connecting flights. On top of Jamaica, Cuba, and Honduras, you got non-stop flights from Cayman to New York, Miami, Tampa, and even Denver, Los Angeles, and now Panama. Going to be a little cafe con leche and Hollywood Squares for this old gal this summer.
Make your travel dreams come true with Cayman Airways, offering non-stop flights for non-stop adventures in Panama, LA, and many more places in between. For details and to book, call 949-2311, contact a travel agent, or visit CaymanAirways.com.
Radio Cayman News.
This house fully exploded. That house is now damaged.
A quiet afternoon is rocked by an explosion, destroying a Newlands home and sending debris flying.
Still on site, digging into the cause of the explosion that was heard by people more than a mile away Monday afternoon.
Our house shake like an earthquake.
Radio Cayman. Your voice, your choice for today's biggest news.
System 1 loaded.
1-800-534-8255. What is on your mind when it comes to the government, independence, and the opposition? Issues that matter to you. 1-800-534-8255. Waiting to hear from you. For the record.
This is For the Record with Orrett Connor.
Good morning, and sorry about that. My mic wasn't ready. Good morning and welcome back to For the Record. In the studio, I have with me this morning Miss Lisa Ann Hurlston McKenzie from the Ministry of Sustainability and Climate Resilience, Mr. Tim Austin from the Department of the Environment. He's the Deputy Director, Mr. John Tibbetts, and Mr. Simon Boxall. And of course, we're talking about the consultation on climate change policy for the Cayman Islands. So the question was, those persons who have all of the daily issues to deal with, how do we get them interested? And of course you heard Mr. Tim Austin point out that some of the things that you're experiencing today, these daily worries that you have, are as a result of some of the issues that they're trying to deal with now. So we're going to have Mr. Tibbetts and Miss Lisa opine on that as well, folks.
Well, back in the 1980s when John Tibbetts started out on his career in the Weather Service, one of the things that was rather obvious is that, number one, weather and climate impacts everyone. Nobody can hide from it.
Yep.
But we also knew from the meteorology point of view that our climate was changing. And so whenever you're talking weather and climate, you also have to be looking at the changes. And you've got to be looking at the evolution. And sometimes you've got to try and look at what the reasoning is behind it. Okay? Sometimes it just doesn't rain because it rains. One of the problems that I think we have with climate change is that as Mr. Austin and Mr. Boxall was saying earlier, we're living now in this time when the climate is changing. Okay, I think one of the problems though is that we don't have it pegged as climate change. We've got it pegged. That's a shower, that's a hurricane, and what have you, and we don't look at the bigger picture. Now, one of the things that I love about this whole introducing this policy and the work that's been done with it to the Cayman public is that I'm an old veteran in this business, and they're still opening my eyes. Okay, and it was rather impressive to see all of the thought process that went through to look at all the various impacts that goes on. And I assure you that if you were to come to those meetings, and if you do look at the policy and look at all the changes and look at the ways in which you're being impacted, I think it'll open your eyes. And you will look at climate change in a whole different way. It isn't just about rainfall. It isn't just about temperature. There's a whole lot more to do that Mr. Boxall is always talking about storm surge, and obviously between us, you're also hearing us talking about Category 5 hurricanes, more increased frequency, and all this kind of stuff. But it's more than just that. I look at the impacts from the increasing temperature, and I look at the impacts from the decreasing rainfall and increasing rain events. That's my world to a certain extent, but my world also involves other impacts, and then that like flooding, higher storm surge, increasing water levels, okay, a drying type climate, more extreme rain events and stuff like that. Those kind of have some mixtures with my world in climate and meteorology, but at the same time there are things that are being impacted that goes beyond just meteorology. All right, and it's in the art more of social sciences and things like that is the impacts on human beings.
Miss Lisa?
I loved at the opening commentary, John referred to himself in the third person, so I might actually start doing that now too. And you might think that there's somebody else actually in the room contributing to this conversation. I'd also like to wish John a belated happy birthday. We learned that it was his birthday yesterday.
Thanks.
So thank you, John, for those remarks, and happy birthday for yesterday. I would like to say that Lisa Hurlston last night also learned something new. It was... It's always wonderful to hear from people, particularly those perhaps a little bit older than myself, about the changes that they have seen in the islands. And last night we heard from Deputy Speaker and MP Mr. Isaac Rankin about the changes that they've seen in East End and across Grand Cayman in terms of mango trees budding and flowering and fruiting at times of year that he never experienced as a child, and that was also echoed by other members of the public that attended as well, that were in our generation, but also in a slightly older generation as well. So the changes, as John said, are definitely there, not just in terms of rainfall data recorded and temperature recorded, but in things that touch our everyday lives, as Simon and Tim both said, whether you're just a backyard farmer or just growing certain food stuff because you just like to see that, and it's just part of a recreational activity within your yard or your garden, or whether you're actually doing this on a more than a subsistence basis, but for commercial purposes and on a livelihood basis. So it definitely touches our agricultural sector, being one of the most weather and climate sensitive sectors of the economy, but also our tourism sector, which is another climate sensitive sector of the economy because it cuts across so many other sectors, or it relies on so many other activities that contribute to what we know and love as our travel and tourism industry, both locally across the islands and, of course, regionally and towards the global impacts that Tim spoke about. Supply chain issues, not dissimilar to what we saw with the COVID pandemic, is also very reminiscent of some of the things that we have seen in climatic shifts for the last 30, 40 years. And that, unfortunately, will continue to happen, and we will have to continue to respond to it either under a preparedness scenario or not a preparedness scenario. And I think we would all agree that we would rather be working towards and be in the first scenario where we are prepared, much like how we prepare for hurricanes every single season, every single year. So that's what I would leave the public with, that every aspect of life, whether it's our cost of living, and John is absolutely right, we may not have to label it climate change, but it is affecting us, and we have to be prepared.
Okay. Now, we know that the public consultations, to a certain extent, we dealing with individuals, but I see here where Bermuda is actually having a climate summit on the 28th, the 26th and the 27th of June. And there's an article there talking about the summit to hear from the insurance role in climate change. We have many insurance companies registered here. Some may have a physical presence here as well. Earlier this morning, we talked about our financial institutions, the banks. You spoke about tourism, but also developers of tourism establishments and stuff like that. They also have a lot to do, with how we prepare ourselves. So we have a caller on hold. We're going to take a commercial break. But at some point in time, if we can talk about the institutions and how do we reach them as well, how do we get them involved in it? Insurance policies, should they be geared rather than saying, well, if you expose yourself to this, you're going to pay more, rather than how can we incentivize the people to do things rather than punishing them by charging them more if you don't do it this way, or denying you the availability of the services altogether if you don't do it as well. So we're going to take the commercial break. When we return, we're going to take the caller, and then we're going to talk more. We will talk about the consultations that have taken place so far and the feedback as well. But if I am to guess, and my experience tells me, and we see the same thing being experienced by the Electoral Boundaries Commission as well, that when it comes to public meetings, that's a thing of the past in the Cayman Islands, and we really, have to concentrate our efforts in various other ways to get the public's attention, to get the public's feedback as well. Because it's that same public that later on will complain and say, oh, government didn't do anything about this, government didn't do anything about that. But they never say, oh, but the government didn't hear from me, so maybe, what I had to say could have impacted what the government did as well. Let's take that commercial break and take the caller after, folks. Please stay tuned for the record. We'll be back shortly.
Are you feeling sick but don't feel ill enough to go to the doctor? Ask your pharmacist for advice. Here at West Bay Pharmacy, our pharmacists have been trained to offer helpful, easy to understand advice on the treatment of everyday minor ailments for yourself and all the family. Anything from headaches, cough and sore throat, to cold sores, our pharmacists will know when medical help is needed and will not hesitate to refer you to your doctor if your symptoms demand it. Like doctors, our pharmacists have a professional code, which means all personal information you give them will be treated in the strictest confidence. Visit us today at West Bay Pharmacy, where we care about your health.
Do you own a Honda vehicle? Well, there's currently an urgent safety recall regarding faulty Takata airbags in Honda vehicles in the Cayman Islands. As affected vehicles get older, a combination of high temperatures and humidity can affect airbags, with the fault placing you and your family at potential risk. Car City is currently replacing any defective airbags completely free of charge. To check whether your vehicle is affected, go to carcity.ky/recalls. If your vehicle is not affected, you will require a letter from Car City stating so for your next vehicle licensing inspection. Without this, your vehicle will not pass its inspection. Please contact Car City Service Team to arrange this by calling 949-5525 or go to carcity.ky/recalls. The safety of you and your family is important to Car City, so please take the time to check if your vehicle is affected by this urgent Honda safety recall.
Health behaviours and lifestyle choices such as diet and smoking can be risk factors for non-communicable diseases. The STEPS 2023 National Health Survey will allow the Ministry of Health and Wellness to gather important data on the health of the nation, including these risk factors. This information will inform our plans for the health needs of Cayman's residents, allowing us to better serve our population. Learn more by logging on to www.gov.ky/steps.
At Kirk's Home Center, we can make your life much better. We got it all together. We got a great deal in store for you. From cookware to stereos, from power tools to plumbing supplies. Yeah, we got the best goods with the best price and a service to make you smile. At Kirk's Home Center, we got a great deal in store for you. Tune in every Monday through Friday at 12 p.m. for Radio Cayman's Midday Newscast. Radio Cayman, the People's Station, your trusted official source for the latest news. The 12 p.m. news is proudly brought to you by Health City Cayman Islands. World-class healthcare within your reach.
For the record, with Orrett Connor.
Initiating system.
For information that matters. For the record, with Orrett Connor. Continues right now on Radio Cayman.
Good morning. Welcome back to For the Record. We do have a caller on hold. Caller, good morning. Welcome to For the Record.
Good morning, Mr. For the Record.
Good morning, Doc. How are you?
Good. And good morning to your guests.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Yeah, whilst I agree with all the message from your guests and from things that you said, especially Mr. Boxall and the other gentleman there, I think Mr. Boxall hits it right on the head when he talks about the things that has to be done. And I also agree with your assessment about the public interest. You know, I have just about every report that ever put out, even from 1935 when Commissioner Cardinal did his report about the possibility of tourists Cayman becoming a tourist destination. I have just about every report that government ever made. And the problem that we have is the people don't see any tangible results from any of these reports. And so they're not interested. The government, I would say, has made no tangible results on the people. And so the people are complacent, and they don't even go out to meetings anymore because they don't say anything that interests them, that benefits them. That's a problem that we have. You know, coming up to modern days, I think what Mr. Simon was saying is something I have been trying to advocate all along. And every time, I get on the radio with some of the people there, they just cut you off and change directions. Let me give you an example. We have to make a stand, a definite stand. Say no when to say no, and yes when to say no about building. We allowed all the people that come here, and we told them, you can't build so close to the water. Our ancestors didn't do that. They knew what would happen to them. They built a house on the other side of the street, and so forth. And we allowed them to put all of these conglomerates on the 7 Mile Beach, and now they have a disaster there. And then they want us to spend all these millions of dollars to bring in sand to put there, this will be washed away in the next 3 months or so forth, and so forth. That's an example. Boxall Road, all of those places. And then we had where consultants from I was on the Airport Authority from 2001 has been telling us, you have to consider moving the airport from where it is, and you have to put it in higher lands, farther away from Georgetown. We saw what happened to the airport. We saw what happened in I-1 The water, the salt water was all the way up to the administration building. In where the administration building is now in I-1. The water from the North Sound was all the way up there to Georgetown. We do not, what we do is around South Sound. We saw what happened to South Sound, and then we allow people to go back and do the same thing over and over and over and over. We do not care about climate change and all of those things. We are living in a dollar called bubble. We will do anything to save the day and tell every lie to save the hour. And that's the problem that we have. We live in a fantasy world. This is a fantasy island. Well, we say, okay, well, that happened. That probably never happened to another 35 years again or 40 years again. And we go on doing the same thing. That is the reason why people are not interested in reports and consultations and consultations. I know. I have been there. I have been on your show and with the public and so many places. I have been out to 2 boundary commissions, and we have the same problem. The people are not prying, and they're not, and the government doesn't do much for what's in their best interests. That's the problem that we have here. We do not have any planning, any urban planning, rural planning, any climate change planning. We don't have any of those things. That's what's going to happen to us in the next 50 or 40 years or 100 years from now. All we're interested in is, well, we have some money now. We have enough, but that's not. We have money now, but that's not. We need more because that more is not enough. That's all we do, and as a result, we are going to be caught just like those other people and all those other fables that I read about when I was young and so forth, and what the Bible speaks to, and so forth. And the problem that we have is that we need enforcement legislation, and we need decisive legislation to say, no, we're not going to allow you to build on the coast. We're not going to allow you to do this because climate change is real, and you go have to build someplace else. But we hate to lose that dollar, that commission that people are making, those profits that people are making, and a little stamp duty that the government is getting for the transfer of lands and so forth and so forth. That's the problem that you have with people, and unless you educate people, and you're not going to get people to listen when we're on the radio, like the Boundary Commission. They don't give a damn. They don't come to our meetings. They don't care. That doesn't affect them. That's what they believe because they're not educated to know everything, every decision that the government makes, that your representative makes. And I also believe that in a democracy, the interests of the people are primary and come first, and their power is reflected by the election of their representative to represent them. That and it seems to me that my beliefs are all wrong. That's what they told me when I went to the different schools of thought and philosophy and so forth. And I come here to this country, and all of those things I learned just thrown out the door. My thinking is completely wrong. We just drift along and hope that somehow the hurricanes will pass us. We pray that it go to a next country. And then we say, oh well, boy, you see what happened? We were lucky. God was the one that protected us, and we will not face the reality, and that's the problem that we have.
Doc, thank you very much. We do have another caller. What we'll do is we grab the caller before we go to our 8 o'clock news, and then when we return, you get an opportunity to respond to both. Next caller, good morning. Welcome to For the Record.
Hello, good morning.
Good morning.
Morning.
Okay. Talk about criminals coming to the Cayman Islands, especially out of Jamaica.
Caller, is this going to include talking about sustainability and resilience? Because if it isn't, I'm going to ask you to. I was going to ask you to call in at another time because we have a specific topic that we're talking about now, and I can't speak for my guests, but whether or not they may be versed in what you want to talk about, their particular role at this point in time, doesn't have to do with that. We do have another caller, Ms. Susan. Let's grab the next caller. Caller, good morning. Welcome to For the Record. Good. Okay. So we don't have a caller in line now. We still have about 3 minutes before we go to our headline news. So
Can I just say something?
Sure.
And the caller, he was talking about the response of the people, and it's kind of like they don't care about this and they don't care about that. Well, let me just tell you one thing. Mother Nature, when she's ready, can be a very cruel teacher. Mm-hmm. Okay? I suspect a lot of us are already starting to forget about Hurricane Ivan. And there's worse yet to come. Okay? And the economy and what we're talking about here right now is putting ourselves in a better position to deal with those impacts when those impacts come. If there's one thing that we need, the climate change policy and everything that we're trying to get here to do is we need political will. We don't need it just from this current government, but we need it from future governments as well. The concepts of climate change and the whole policy and everything that has been put together here is something that you just can't do this for 2 years, 5 years, whatever it is. It has to become the new norm. It has to be included in just about everything that we're thinking right now. All right. So and even if you do some of those things, when Mother Nature comes calling, she'll be a cruel teacher, yeah. But at the end of the day, we think that Cayman will be in a better position to deal with some of those impacts, as we've already considered it and considered ways to get around it and what have you, or to make the impacts less strenuous on the country.
Okay. Ms. Susan, you ready for the headline news now? We still have about 2 minutes. Ms. Lisa, you wanted to say something as well?
Yeah, John and I have been doing this a long time, so our thought processes are very, very similar. And yes, I was just going to highlight, based on what the caller was saying, that, Hurricane Ivan, some may forget, and others listening out there may not have even been born yet. But that is also the generation that we are hearing loud and clear from, that we need a policy such as this and then some, that this policy doesn't go far enough. But Hurricane Ivan was a severe Category 4, not even quite a Category 5, just on the cusp of, and it cost $2.8 billion to this country in losses and damages, which roughly equated at the time to $75,000 per capita or per person. And when we start to think of impacts in that light, I think it at least straightens our backs and perks our ears, and hopefully people will want to hear more. And as John said, the important part about that piece of information is not just that and reminiscing and recalling what it cost us and perhaps a spike in the cost of living at the time after that, but also the disruption to our lives. Last night we were hearing in East End, of course, that CUC or power didn't come back on in many households and to businesses for in excess of 3 months. Just some people just before Christmas, some people just after Christmas. So think of your Christmases, without a lit Christmas tree. For example, it might be a very small sacrifice, but these are the types of things that we're speaking about in terms of weather disruptions and climate disruptions. But I know you probably want to take a break, and this all ties into the insurance question that you were asking about before.
Okay. If we can talk a little bit more about that, and also if we can talk about the policy, there's always this saying in political science that one government cannot bind another government. And I would imagine that there's some public concerns about there whether or not, when a policy has been developed and has been accepted, how long does it remain in effect as well, or can it be then changed by future governments as well? Folks, please stay tuned. For the record, we'll be back shortly.
Today's biggest news.
Radio Cayman. Your voice, your choice.
Local, regional, international. This is Headlines from Radio Cayman's newsroom.
Today's biggest news.
The Headline News is brought to you by Health Services Authority.
Police are advising the public of an installation of underground utility infrastructure along West Bay Road near Watermark Development, south of 7 Mile Public Beach. Motorists traveling in the area are asked to exercise caution and expect potential delays due to partial lane closures. Ukraine's counteroffensive has resulted in further advances in some, quote, extremely fierce battles, according to a minister in Kyiv. Last night, Russia's President Vladimir Putin claimed the maneuver was failing and the opposing army was suffering major losses. The Ukrainians say their troops have recaptured 7 settlements and at least 35 square miles since launching the offensive. Earlier, at least 3 people were killed in a relatively rare Russian attack on the Black Sea port of Odessa, and 3 others died after strikes in the eastern Donetsk region. And the Kremlin says it's concerned after unconfirmed reports of an injury for a senior Chechen commander who's had a prominent role during the invasion. Those are your headlines. I'm Karsley Fuller.
For the latest in news and information,
follow Radio Cayman on social media, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. Download the Radio Cayman app or log on to our website, radiocayman.gov.ky.
The headline news are brought to you by Health Services Authority.
When you have a sports or fitness-related injury, trust the expertise of the HSA's Sports and Exercise Medicine Clinic to get you back in the game. Our internationally trained and certified physicians specialize in sports traumatology, sports medicine, pain management, and orthopedic surgery. For treatment of common injuries such as tendonitis, arthritis, tennis elbow, rotator cuff, or knee tears, schedule a consultation with the Sports and Exercise Medicine Clinic at Smith Road Medical Center by calling 949-8600 or visit hsa.ky for more information.
For the record, with Orrett Connor.
Initiating system.
For information that matters. For the record, with Orrett Connor. Continues right now on Radio Cayman.
Good morning and welcome back to For the Record. Before I have some breaking news here. This was a press release that was embargoed until the 14th of June, 7 a.m. And I do not believe that it is fake news. If it is, they did a good job of it. And just to say that the Police Service Commission has announced the appointment of the Commissioner of Police Designate for the Royal Cayman Islands Police Service, and that person is Mr. Deputy Police Commissioner, Mr. Kurt Walton, as the Police Commissioner. And I'm sure that Radio Cayman News will share more of that with you as well. But this was embargoed until 7 a.m. I just got it on my phone, and I'm not wanting to upstage our news team here in Radio Cayman, but I figure, that For the Record can put something out there once in a while, as well. So back to our conversation. Miss Lisa, did you finish what you wanted to say?
Well, I would throw it over to the rest of the team that's here, but just to say, to follow on from what Doc was saying before, in that, yes, the amount of development that we've had, particularly since Hurricane Ivan, as we were talking about Hurricane Ivan, which is certainly not our baseline, but it's a baseline that many people can relate to. And we have many more physical assets now placed in our high-risk areas, in our coastal zones in particular, but also in areas that we were experiencing inland flooding before, that we're having even more extensive areas of inland flooding now, not even from a major hurricane like a Hurricane Ivan or even a tropical storm Grace, but just from, as John can probably attest, more intense rainfall events when they do happen. And that is, potentially having an impact on people's properties in terms of property damage and repair after that, but also to the ability to be able to affect those reparations in a timely manner if the insurance safety net is not there. And we are finding across the region and globally, in fact, that that insurance and climate change is an intricate set of issues. In that, as John can tell you, the insurance companies, the reinsurance companies, have climate models of their own. They've been looking at this issue for 20-some years. They've been trying to, in some respects, be proactive and offer insurance packages and insurance products that not just deal with home insurance or building insurance, but also insurance products that assist the agricultural sector, insurance products that assist utilities, particularly those in the region under the CRIF here, under the Caribbean Catastrophe Risk Insurance Facility. I always get that wrong, CRIF. Which the government itself pays a premium to annually in order to help us have liquidity in the event of a storm before we can get things straight. But it also goes to show the need for adequate disaster funds in place, which we do have in the country, but we may need to take a look at that again to see if they are really sufficient in terms of the estimated costs that climate change impacts will bring to us. So that's all captured there in the policy. And like the caller said, some of it is in terms of disincentives to areas where we perhaps should not build. Some of it is incentives in that if you still want to build in those areas, not recommended, you would have to consider building on stilts or employing other types of more modern technologies, and whether the insurance sector would assist with that incentive or disincentivization in terms of policy coverage and or premium rates. So those are just the types of things that I'm pretty sure that the rest of the team in various different ways, hopefully I've set them up, I'm not taking your job, Mr. Orrett.
That's okay. No. I love when I have a co-host.
Excellent. Thank you. So,
and I know Tim, wants to contribute to that as well, but we do have a caller, so let's grab the caller first. Caller, good morning. Welcome to For the Record.
Hi, good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Hi, good morning to everybody there, Mr. Orrett and your panel. It's good to hear from everyone, and at least I can see that the team there is doing their part and trying to do all the public, announcements and public sort of meetings and doing the radio. Just wanted to chime in on it. I agree with just about everything Dr. McPhail had called in and said about the sort of rampant development and the sort of political will that has been shown over the years, and especially those decisions that have essentially let the floodgates open for development of the island and without regard for what not only the older people have done in terms of the beach land, the swamp lands, but just overall destruction of the mangrove lands. I think we're going to be in for a real terrible one if we ever have another Ivan, and it's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when, right? If we do get hit by something even close to or worse than that, if you look at what has happened with the mangrove buffers along all areas of the island, they have basically disseminated them by the development that has happened, by cutting in new channels in certain places and removing those mangrove buffers. If you had explored the island right after Ivan, everyone that did so would have seen how the mangroves took the worst beating, and most, if not all of them, lost every leaf, and quite a lot of them had actually got uprooted from the major places where they were hit. But if not for those mangroves, you imagine how much worse it would have been. And now that we don't have those mangroves because of the development, what is going to happen in the next hurricane? Just some food for thought on that part. So I think with what planning, and in particular the CPA, I think we got probably a better board now than we had in the past, because the past board that was hitting at the CPA and the governments that made that happen, that particular board seems to have approved every development without regard for any of the stuff that you guys are trying to do now, or maybe have been trying to do for a long time. It was like spitting in your face and basically telling you to, get out of our way. We got the almighty dollar to deal, to catch, and I think we're all going to pay for those planning decisions that have happened in the past, well into the future. Taken from the planning side, it's such a travesty that we have a government department fighting against another government department, and then we have another one here now trying to mitigate and and make some sense of the things. But look at the Bogus Sands road fiasco. We've got Department of Environment who put in actual proposal to say, no, don't do that, don't approve that cabana that's in the water, blocking the sand flows and the water flows on that area. And then we've got the CPA fighting against it, saying, no, we are the ones who make the decision, when clearly, if anybody goes there, they can see the damage that was caused by it and the damage that's going to continue to be caused by it. So I'm pleading with the developer to just scrap that idea, let the beach back to be what it was, take the cabana completely down, and you know, shame on that CPA board and whoever's leading that to take this thing all the way to the court system to waste the people's money on a, you know, it looks like they're with the developer, to be honest. But, you know, shame on them for fighting against what you guys are actually trying to make people aware of, that we have to be careful what we do, and we have to protect not only the environment and all the places, but, you know, make sensible decisions. So I hope we can get some more sensible politicians in, some sensible people on these boards, and just make better decisions for not for us, because we're going to be gone in a few years, but for the future of the young ones that are coming up.
So caller, if I can interrupt you, I'm getting echo there, Ms. Susan. Caller, if I can interrupt you for a second, and you've mentioned development and hotels. So in this policy that is being created, do you have any? Can you express any ideas that you have in relation to future building of hotels? Everyone wants to be on the beach, but yet I keep referring to the Cayman Islands as a little 2x4 island. It doesn't take you long to get to the beach, as well. So do you have any suggestions in relation to the policy when it comes to the construction of future hotel accommodations in the Cayman Islands?
Yeah, I mean, we are a bit late on this part, Mr. Osias. I think you just kind of put in a tongue-in-cheek with that one, but the 7 Mile Beach corridor has basically been overdeveloped and done in the wrong way. We all know that. Look at the Marriott. The Marriott was allowed to be built on the beach, in the sand, in the water. It might have had a beach from a while back, but we see where it is now. They have no beach, and there's about a mile of what used to be sand that is now gone. Now, we can say it moved down, we can say it moved up, might have moved out and dropped off the deep end out there, but the planning that allowed that to be developed so closely is the true, I think, cause of it. And you can mix in this whole talk about climate change and stuff, but it is a terrible planning approval that was done for that, along with many others that have been done. There's been some better ones lately. The Kimpton, I think, is set back pretty far, but even that is still close. In terms of 7 Mile Beach corridor, whatever areas that are left and that anybody is going to propose to do a development, they need to say, yeah, you cannot make it, set those setbacks even further. And if you want to go higher, that's fine, but, set the actual foundations back. For the Barker's Beach Resort that's been approved, I fought along with many other people to say, listen, that's a bad idea. I went to the developer and I said, no, your approval was, within the planning laws, but take some common sense approach and look at the Marriott and look at the Coral Beach, old Royal Palm site, and see what has happened to that site, and set your development back. Like, at least do something sensible before you do the same thing in the Barker's area. But, and they did. I think they did something, but they had to redo their plans and get it. So government is still allowing the garbage to be done everywhere, and I've been told that it will take the laws to be changed. So I think they need to, this team that's on this panel that's with you now, they need to go to the government officials that are writing the laws and say, listen, change the planning laws, because you're allowing the exact opposite of what we're fighting for, and do that now before the developers, get through it, submitting all their plans or any approvals are done. So setting back is one thing, but change the planning laws. That's your first and foremost fight against this part of it on the beach that you mentioned.
Thank you very much, caller, for that. We have to go to a commercial break. We do have another caller on hold as well, folks. Please stay tuned. For the record, we'll be back shortly.
She hear clunk and her car stop. I was just about to send her some money, so I send it straight to her JN money transfer card. It cost me less, and perhaps she use the card, pay the garage right away. She'll get discount through the JN Rewards program in Jamaica. This card make things easy. You can even get funds at any multi-link ATM.
JN Money Transfer Card. Fast, affordable, convenient. Tell your loved ones in Jamaica about it. Sign up is free.
Since March 2004, West Bay Pharmacy has kept their doors open to the local communities, even before, during, and after Hurricane Ivan. At West Bay Pharmacy, our staff provides so much more than pharmaceutical excellence. From the moment you walk through our doors to completing your cash out, our staff will have put your healthcare concerns at ease. We would like to take this moment to thank our loyal friends and customers. To us at West Bay Pharmacy, our patients are our primary concern. We provide thorough background checks and precise calculations to ensure your medical safety. Thank you for being a part of our family and for choosing West Bay Pharmacy, where we care about your health.
Your dream home starts with a vision, and often inspiration is at the heart of that vision. Brand Source Home Gallery's in-house designers are here to help bring your vision to life. Whether you're remodeling or building a new home, Brand Source Home Gallery is your one-stop solution. Explore their kitchen cabinets, sinks, faucets, bath fixtures, tubs, vanities, and more. Let Brand Source's designers help and inspire you with your next project. Call 623-5000 and schedule an appointment with a design expert at Brand Source Home Gallery, Dorsey Drive, Industrial Park, serving Cayman for 50 years.
You know, as a little girl, I dreamt of traveling to faraway places and foreign lands. I tell you what though, no more dreaming. This summer, I'm going flying with Cayman Airways. How blessed are we in the Cayman Islands to have a very own national airline? Girl, you can fly to so many international destinations without the hassle of connecting flights. On top of Jamaica, Cuba, and Honduras, you got non-stop flights from Cayman to New York, Miami, Tampa, and even Denver, Los Angeles, and now Panama. Going to be a little cafe con leche and Hollywood Squares for this old gal this summer.
Make your travel dreams come true with Cayman Airways, offering non-stop flights for non-stop adventures in Panama, LA, and many more places in between. For details and to book, call 949-2311, contact a travel agent, or visit CaymanAirways.com.
For the record, with Orrett Connor.
Initiating system.
For information that matters. For the record, with Orrett Connor. Continues right now on Radio Cayman.
Good morning. Welcome back to For the Record. We're going straight to the phone lines because we do have another caller on hold. Caller, good morning. Welcome to For the Record.
Good morning, Mr. O'Connor.
Good morning, sir. How are you?
Okay. Good morning to your panel also.
Morning.
Good morning.
Well, the question you asked about what other laws would we put in place concerning building hotels by the seaside?
Mm-hmm.
I would suggest that they make a law that the foundations be 10 feet in height, the least. That would be good for insurance companies too. And in the news, somewhere down in India, that area up there, they had a typhoon. And a gentleman was on the news, and he said that if they did not remove the mangrove forest, a lot of damage that was done would not have happened. And that's what we have to think about. We can't allow people to come here and destroy the plans that our great-great-great-grandfathers put in place and just throw it away and do what they want to do as they please. Because our forefathers were filled with wisdom, knowledge, and understanding, and they were God-fearing individuals. And when it comes to concessions, I know the government must have given away billions of dollars worth, or almost billions of dollars worth of concessions by now. And the Auditor General has said Caymanians have nothing to show for it. We're living in the middle of the Caribbean. The National Hurricane Center in Miami has said that the Cayman Islands is a bullseye for hurricanes. We're below sea level. If you come from 12 Mile Bank, you can see that with your plain eyes. We're below sea level. And still, the government still hesitates, or governments still hesitate to put proper hurricane shelters in place. We should have hurricane shelters in every district on this island to hold at least 700 people or more, if it's possible. And those hurricane shelters, the foundation of those shelters should be at least 20 feet in height. And those shelters should be so big that they're able to hold bulldozers, trucks, boats, even helicopters, whatever we need after a major disaster. Because if we have a tidal wave come in here 100 miles wide and 25 feet high, we're in serious problems. And then we send people to these hurricane shelters that are the same level with the ground. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you very much, caller, for that. We have another caller. Caller, good morning. Welcome to For the Record.
Good morning, Mr. Connor.
Good morning, Cap. How are you? Good to hear your voice.
And good morning to all your panel. Oh, yeah, I got a suggestion about the 7 Mile Beach, how we can replenish that. You know, many places in the world, I'll name one I know is over 100 years old. And Cristobal going into to the Panama Canal and the Caribbean side there, they got this breakwater, they call it. It's built out of jacks. You remember what we used to play with? It looked like jacks when we were children. Well, that's over 100 years old. That's been there, and that is a protection. It is the easiest thing. Not the easiest thing, but to solve this suggestion, instead of importing sand and having it washed away, which we will do, did all that, is to put these jacks out there in the sea, build a place, and also we could get rid of Mount Trashmore. We could fill that in with Mount Trashmore, and then we might have to import a little sand to put over that, but you would save the beach and the hotels and everything else along that 7 Mile Beach. You might not be able to swim there anymore, but you sure would save all those buildings. I have a little plan I made of it, but of course nobody will listen to me. But so I just thought I'd put that on the radio this morning, because it would be a win-win situation, because all these people with trucks, they could transport that, make some money, transport that, fill in that place, and then to put the sand over it. Everybody would make something. It would be a boom. I say you mightn't be able to swim on the beach anymore, but you could save the hotels, the buildings.
Okay. Captain Paul, thank you very much for your contribution. I have a WhatsApp message here, but I'll save that for later. I want to give, we've had quite a few callers call in, and want to give our panelists here an opportunity to respond in any way that they may on what was said by some of the callers.
Can I?
Sure, Simon.
I'll let you. Thank you, everyone. Good to hear from you, Captain Paul Hurlston. Amazing man with a lot of wisdom.
Yes.
But
yes.
Going back to Dr. Steve McField and some of the other callers as well. You know, we talk about Hurricane Ivan as the worst that can possibly be, and that's not the case. That's not the case. If a Mitch, you talk about a Mitch, you know, that was 200 miles. That was a huge storm. Stopped for 48 hours on Guanaja and Dorian. But yeah, a lot of people say, like, you know, instead of having a disaster management office, really it should be run by the planning and development department, because, you know, the impacts, as Dr. McField said, you know, we've got to build our robustness. And with a population effectively doubling in Cayman every 20 years, we're looking at 160,000 people probably in 20 years from now. And that's, there's going to be a lot of development. We say, okay, yeah, the beach is pretty much already developed. But, there are places now where you have to build in ways that people don't drown, that you don't have to spend months and years rebuilding, that in Hawaii you're behind a 100-year wave event. You can still build, but you got to build in a way that the wave can get underneath you and that it doesn't flood out. We had 40,000 people when Ivan hit, and we went, and as Lisa pointed out, for about 3 months in many cases without power. If you have a population of 80,000, yes, we are a bit more resilient in some respects, but we could be looking at more time than 3 months. And looking back at the history, I love the history too. There's been huge migrations of people in our history when we've been impacted by hurricanes going back to like 1830s. A third of the population went to the Bay Islands, and we saw about 20% of our population leave after Hurricane Ivan. These are huge hits to the economy that we can't take, and we've just got to start to think, how can we become more robust, more, some of the developers are building, with the intention of selling it. They're not going to be living on the ground floor units when the water comes into them. But, we have to find a way, I think, to keep our economy viable for our future as well. So while, yes, climate change does feel like a long way off for people, if we're only about 3 feet above sea level on average, within 20 years, we're going to see, high tides covering a third of Cayman with the sea. Probably 10 or 15 days out of the year, we're going to see the sea covering it up, driving our cars through the sea. Mm-hmm. So if we don't plan now, how viable is Cayman going to be? Yep. It's time to kind of look ahead.
I'm overwhelmed. We've had some superb calls coming in today, but I just remind everybody that the policy that we're dealing with looks at all of these issues. Okay. I mean, it really is looking at these issues, and I agree with Dr. Steve, the public's jaded about reports and things. I think back to Vision 2008 and what an epic effort that was. But this is a policy that the government is looking at and wants to put in place. So I'm hopeful. This addresses these issues, and if people pick up the policy, they'll see that it really makes people think about all of the things that have been raised today, and some really good points today, and I'm hopeful.
Okay. Can I just piggyback just a little bit on what he's saying? I think one of the things that, as I was saying earlier, that the concepts of climate change is not just for this year, but it's for years to come as well. Okay, and I think one of the very important tasks that will have to be done will, from the point of view of this is just not lip service. All right, we presented something, we provided our evidence, we did what we had to do. And now the question now is the response, all right? And a lot of the public go, well, why are we wasting time on climate change? Because you don't do anything for climate, with regards to climate change. I think one of the things that's needed is some sort of regular reporting and claiming the big wins and the small wins that we get on things that have changed and things that were brought about because of the climate change policy. It needs to be reminded to the public that this that we're hoping for is not just lip service to the public. It will also obviously speak to the political will to support what's being done and what have you. And to claim whatever wins we can claim for it, and to tell the people, hey, listen, it's not just the people. We didn't just put a policy in place, but we put it in action, and we got some things done from it.
Exactly. Okay. We're going to take a commercial break. So when we return, we're going to talk a little bit more about the policy and some of the things that we will talk about. I questioned before about the policy itself and how its permanency. But you also want to talk about the next steps for the draft policy. Want to talk about what the policy includes, any definitive emission targets. Does it have any of those? What is the difference between strategies in the policy and what will be proposed in the implementation plan as well? So several things that we want to talk about. We want to talk about costs. How much will it cost to implement all of the strategies that are recommended in the policy as well. So we're going to dive a little deeper into the policy itself. So as a result of us wanting to do that, Ms. Susan, what we'll do is we'll close off the phone lines for a while so we can dive a little deeper into the policy. And if time allows, then when we return, we can continue to take calls as well. Folks, please stay tuned. For the record, we'll be back shortly.
Health behaviours and lifestyle choices such as diet and smoking can be risk factors for non-communicable diseases. The STEPS 2023 National Health Survey will allow the Ministry of Health and Wellness to gather important data on the health of the nation, including these risk factors. This information will inform our plans for the health needs of Cayman's residents, allowing us to better serve our population. Learn more by logging on to www.gov.ky/steps.
What's that? No sugar, same amazing taste? Coca-Cola Zero Sugar is here to stay. Classic taste, pure satisfaction. Be sure to stop into any Tortuga location and get your own case of Coke Zero. Or grab an ice-cold one straight from the cooler. Brought to you by Tortuga Distributors Limited. Coca-Cola, taste the feeling, Cayman.
West Bay Pharmacy. Personalized medicine, customized care to meet your specific needs. Your body is unique to you. Your medicine should be too. Whether you're seeking individual-specific medication, correct size dosages, or simply better tasting medicine, ask your pharmacist or healthcare provider about how compounding at West Bay Pharmacy can increase your treatment options, not only for your family, but for your pets too. West Bay Pharmacy, open Monday through Saturday, 9 a.m. to 8 p.m., Sundays and most holidays from 11 a.m. to 6 p.m.
In celebration of the 50th anniversary of the Department of Lands and Survey, land register rectification fees have been temporarily waived. Property owners now have the ability to amend land registers for free until July 30th. Updating your land register improves communication, provides legal protection, makes property transactions easier, and protects against fraud. Keeping your current legal name and addresses updated is required on your land register, and now you can do it for free until July 30th. For more information, contact Lands and Survey at registry.info@gov.ky or call 244-3420.
For the record, with Orrett Connor.
Initiating system.
For information that matters. For the record, with Orrett Connor. Continues right now on Radio Cayman.
Good morning and welcome back to For the Record. We're discussing the climate change policy, the public consultation that has taken place in relation to that. That discussion has taken place with Ms. Lisa Ann Hurlston McKenzie, who is the Senior Policy Advisor, Environment and Resiliency within the Ministry of Sustainability and Climate Resilience. Also in the studio with me, Mr. Timothy Austin, who is the Deputy Director of the Department of the Environment, Mr. John Tibbetts, who is the Director General of the Cayman Islands National Weather Service, and Mr. Simon Boxall from Hazard Management Cayman. He's the Communications and Public Awareness and Training Officer for that entity as well. So we're going to talk about the policy itself and what is next after the consultation period.
Okay, well, just picking up from the discussion that we had before the break and even the previous one, to rest some fears there that some of the suggestions that have been given to us may not already be in the policy. We would like to say that many of those are. Perhaps the finer details, such as whether ground floor elevation should be 10 feet across the board, across all 3 islands, or whether for critical infrastructure it should be 20 feet for the suggestion of the emergency shelters. That sort of granular level detail is not there yet. That would perhaps sit in the implementation plan, which we do hope will also be going back out to the public as well. But in terms of the hierarchical strategy itself, that is there. In particular, the area of the policy that deals with strategies that support a livable built environment. So we have in there things like revising the development and planning regulations and the building code to include resilient design standards that reduce flood hazards that Simon and John and Tim spoke about. Tsunamis, earthquakes, to be inclusive of that, not just for climate-related impacts that were identified in the climate change risk assessment, but also things like completing works that are already in place. And Simon can speak about a lot of stuff that's happening at hazard management in terms of monitoring, as well as John, monitoring systems that are in place and early warning systems that are in place there, but completing some of that work, not least of which is a coastal setback reference line for all 3 islands, but the work that's advanced most to date is on the 7 Mile Beach corridor. So we hope that the public will go to the policy. That's only one of 7 policy areas, and look at the strategies that are proposed there. Look at how the language has crafted those strategies, and if it's not clear, please feed back to us on that. But we are also certainly willing to hear and would love to hear more in terms of the details of how they would like to see some of these policy measures implemented, such as I said before, the caller's suggestion of 10 feet elevation, 20 feet elevation, etc. Some of that may already be contemplated by the planning department in terms of advancements to their law that they would like to see. But if we can give them a helping hand through this consultation process to say, well, this is what the public said to us under this climate change policy, here's something that you can also similarly align, the development plan, the next iteration of the development plan, so that all of these policies hinge together. And that is also part of the strategy the policy as well, the chapter that deals with how we are going to implement the policy, the framework under which, the governance framework under which it will sit under an overarching sustainability strategy and be in alignment with things like an updated development plan and planning regulations, the newly approved food and nutrition security policy, because as we spoke about, agriculture is a climate sensitive sector of the economy, and the national energy policy, which is also under review and happens to sit also within the Ministry of Sustainability and Climate Resiliency. So we're very fortunate that these two policies can definitely be aligned in terms of the targets that you spoke about for reducing our greenhouse gas emissions inventory nationally per sector as well as per capita. And we can speak about that a little bit more, but I'd throw to the rest of the team to say how you feel the policy is addressing some of the concerns that we've heard either today or throughout the public consultation to date, and pick up on some key points.
Sure.
Well, I'd only say that in terms of the climate policy, the National Weather Service is basically a monitoring agency and a warning agency. And so the concepts of the climate change policy and what is required for that, for the policy and for the Weather Service, it kind of goes hands in hand with some of the projects that we've got ongoing. A National Weather Service business center that we hope that will start construction soon, that will provide us with a proper environment to study the climate and to do some deep level research in climatology and of course normal weather services and weather impacts as well. But we're also looking at an automatic weather station network that is getting ready to come online shortly. That we're going to be looking to try and install and have operational shortly. From the point of view is that the evidence that we've provided for climate change and what have you has a singular point at Owen Roberts Airport. And we need to look at the climate change at how it's impacting East End and North Side and the sister islands, and automatic weather stations are going in all of those locations. From the Weather Service's point of view is that we are looking to step up to the plate, as it were, with regards to the climate change policy and play our part. It's been something that's been long in coming. It was rather frustrating, and I know some of us that were involved in the 2011 policy, that paper that was done, we were to a certain extent frustrated that it stopped and just went and collected cobwebs wherever it was. So we have definitely moved it along significantly along the pathway right now, and as Lisa said earlier, we're kind of coming to the end of the consultation period and then move on to look to more of an implementation type phase of the policy after that, which is much further ahead than we were the last time. And so whether we said the political will is right now is correct, is right for us in getting this policy done, or whatever you want to say about it, at the end of the day, we have moved along quite significantly with the climate change policy, and we're looking for it to come to fruition and play in our role as the Weather Service.
Okay, I'm going to ask this one's going to be a little bit controversial. We have seen, and talking about this policy itself, we have seen the United Kingdom, based on the provisions of our Constitution, being prepared to legislate on our behalf and certain issues, right? I just read in the Bermuda newspaper that the cannabis legislation in Bermuda, that the UK is going to hold its ground on that. They have not authorized the governor to assent to that piece of legislation. Here we are, talking about our existence. Us, the ones that are sitting around here today, and all of us that are in existence now, what we do now, and for the future as well. At some point in time, if our local governments fail to put these necessary policies in place that are designed to protect us, you all are civil servants here, so I don't expect you to respond to this, but at some point in time, shouldn't someone be advocating that the UK legislate for us in this particular instance if we fail to do it ourselves? And don't forget that when we introduced our Constitution in 2009, it was one of the first constitutions and one of the few that included the protection of our environment in there. Jeffrey Joel pointed that out to us, made sure that we included it there. So we have a constitutional responsibility to protect our environment as well. So just throwing that out there, folks, for you. Didn't expect my panelists here to respond to that one. We're going to take our last commercial break. When we return, we want to go through some more in terms of the policy. I see here policy includes a strategy to establish a climate resiliency fund through legislation. We shouldn't have the reinvent the wheel there as well, because we have some funds that have already been established in the Cayman Islands Environmental Protection Fund. So we have something that we could go on in relation to that. So let's talk about some more of the things that are in the policy as well. Folks, please stay tuned for the record. We'll be back shortly.
At Doctors Hospital, we know life happens, and usually when you least expect it. So when unexpected medical issues arise, you need quality care close to home. Located in the heart of Georgetown, our accomplished team of physicians and medical staff treat minor urgent conditions such as migraines, chest and abdominal pain, shortness of breath, burns, broken bones, open wounds, and more. 24 hours, 7 days a week with no appointment necessary. Peace of mind is important when life happens. At Doctors Hospital, we're always here just for you. Need to speak to someone? Call 949-6066.
Do you own a Honda vehicle? Well, there is currently an urgent safety recall regarding faulty Takata airbags in Honda vehicles in the Cayman Islands. As affected vehicles get older, a combination of high temperatures and humidity can affect airbags with the fault, placing you and your family at potential risk. Car City is currently replacing any defective airbags completely free of charge. To check whether your vehicle is affected, go to carcity.ky/recalls. If your vehicle is not affected, you will require a letter from Car City stating so for your next vehicle licensing inspection. Without this, your vehicle will not pass its inspection. Please contact the Car City service team to arrange this by calling 949-5525 or go to carcity.ky/recalls. The safety of you and your family is important to Car City, so please take the time to check if your vehicle is affected by this urgent Honda safety recall.
There you go, sir. Thanks for choosing JN Money Transfer.
Boy, thanks to JN Money Transfer, I can stay right here in Cayman and pay mama bills back home in Jamaica. Her water, light, phone, and other bills never late. Every month I pay everything in one place.
Make payments to over 30 companies in Jamaica through JN Money Transfer. Fast, affordable, convenient. Call 1-800-744-1163 for details.
You know, as a little girl, I dreamt of traveling to faraway places and foreign lands. I tell you what though, no more dreaming. This summer, I'm going flying with Cayman Airways. How blessed are we in the Cayman Islands to have a very own national airline? Girl, you can fly to so many international destinations without the hassle of connecting flights. On top of Jamaica, Cuba, and Honduras, you got non-stop flights from Cayman to New York, Miami, Tampa, and even Denver, Los Angeles, and now Panama. Going to be a little cafe con leche and Hollywood Squares for this old gal this summer.
Make your travel dreams come true with Cayman Airways, offering non-stop flights for non-stop adventures in Panama, LA, and many more places in between. For details and to book, call 949-2311, contact a travel agent, or visit CaymanAirways.com.
On Monday, 19th June, we celebrate the King's birthday with 2 time-honored events. First, our uniformed services and clubs will participate in the King's Birthday Parade at 9 a.m. in front of Government House. Later, there will be the customary garden party on the Government House lawn at 4 p.m. Be sure to wear your best outdoor elegant attire, no shorts or flip-flops. Join us as we honor our new King.
For the record, with Orrett Connor.
Initiating system.
For information that matters. For the record, with Orrett Connor. Continues right now on Radio Cayman.
Good morning and welcome back to For the Record. We're on the last leg of the show this morning, discussing the climate change policy public consultation, and we will give you details if you're not familiar, with the draft policy. Then we will tell you where you can access it as well. And, of course, while the birthday shout-out has already passed, this one I can't omit. Miss Carmen Wilson Hanlon. She knows everyone's birthday. That's a lady that knows, I think, practically everyone in the Cayman Islands. She knows their birthday, and she's always giving them a shout-out. So I want to give her a shout-out this morning. Miss Carmen Wilson Hanlon. She's celebrating a birthday today, and it's coming from all your friends and family members as well. So happy birthday to you. And to remind you that Miss Reba celebrates her birthday tomorrow as well. So that's it for the birthday shout-outs. Let's go back to the climate change policy consultation. Tim, over to you. I think everyone, there was a consensus that we would throw the mic back over to you.
Putting me on the spot. Yeah. Well, I mean, we were talking before about the various strategic objectives that are in the policy, and I just come back to one that's, the whole policy, of course, is relevant, but one that's dear to my heart, which is the harmony with nature. And I enjoyed hearing Captain Paul there, and he reminded us of the 100-year-old breakwater that you have in Panama. And I'm going out on a limb here, but the sea level's been relatively stable in the Cayman Islands the last 10,000 years, changing subtly. But we have a 10,000-year-old breakwater in a coral reef, and the whole idea is that we can live and work with the environment that we have if we understand how it works, and the nature-based solutions idea. We've got a free breakwater. They rebuild, they repair, and they really are important. So this idea that we live and work with nature and is really important. And we were talking briefly about this in the break. Everyone thinks that development is we can't go there. Anything we do with the environment is going to impact development, yes. And it doesn't have to be that way. This policy is not about kind of impacting development only in a good way. It's about doing things the right way, so that the long-term problems that people have mentioned today, beach erosion and seawalls, don't need to be a problem in the future if we think about it. And I just say that this policy hopefully will go a long way to addressing those concerns that people have. And I would encourage people to pick it up and have a look at it. And as Ms. Lisa points out, if there's something in there that doesn't cover an area that you're concerned with, now's the time to get it included. I think you'll find it's really comprehensive. But yeah, pick up that policy, read it, and make sure that all your areas that you have concerns are related to it. Okay, and Ms. Lisa, off air we did talk, you did mention the fact that when it comes to our environment, that is basically one of the devolved issues that have been devolved to us here in the Cayman Islands, as well. That sort of takes us off the hook, or in a way, in terms of having the UK legislate, for us. And I'm sure that some of my listeners out there will say, well, OCU would be the first to to criticize if the UK were to legislate for us. Well, it's still in the Constitution, the nuclear option. And this is in one area that I certainly would endorse if the UK were to decide to legislate. But we have heard also that the UK, when it comes to their policies and implementation as well, they may not be any better off than some of the others. But over to you, Ms. Lisa.
Right, okay, thank you. Without getting too technical and taking up too much more time on this particular thing, because I know you'd like to speak about other matters with the policy, but just to say that we don't necessarily need to think about the nuclear option just yet. There are many different mechanisms that are already in play that that we can utilize. To that particularly come to mind is the UK's existing Climate Change Act that they've had since 2008, and that they have revamped over the course of time as the international negotiations have progressed to include net zero targets for 2050, which is something that is trying to implement the Paris Agreement of 2015 globally. And we are actually not included in the carbon budgets and many other aspects of the UK's legislation. That doesn't apply to us. But something like the legislation that might be contemplated to create the Climate Resiliency Fund, for example, and to create the Climate and Energy Policy Council that is envisaged to take this policy forward and implement it and align it with the other policies that I mentioned earlier, that might look like a type of UK legislation that they already have. So like you said before, not reinventing the wheel if it's something that we can pick up and and the country thinks that this is a workable solution for us, or whether it's something more along the lines of what Dominica has had, particularly since the devastating hurricanes there several years ago, in which they totally revamped the way that they looked at development and resiliency and preparedness for not just hurricanes and natural threats, but for other types of human-made disasters or disasters in the making, and their 2030 plan that is tied to an execution type agency that is also based in legislation. So there are different ways that we can, skin the cat before we really get to the nuclear option. And of course, last but not least, is the fact that the Cayman Islands has been party to, through the UK, the Climate Change Framework Convention, the Kyoto Protocol, and perhaps maybe later this year or next year, the Paris Agreement itself, which speaks not only to the reduction of greenhouse gas emissions in the country to assist that global effort, but also to what we've been speaking about here today, adaptation. And I think a lot of people forget that the overarching convention, as well as the subsidiary climate treaties like the Paris Agreement, actually has an objective to ensure that we have the adequate policies and measures in place to enable adaptation over the course of generations, to reduce our vulnerability to climate impacts and to enhance our resiliency, everything that we've been speaking about here today.
Excellent, excellent. So we still have about 5 minutes left. We may go over a little bit. I want to go around the table to give everyone an opportunity for some closing comments, and then Ms. Lisa, when we get back to you, you can remind the public, about the next meeting that is going to take place, how to access the information if they want, and the way forward from here as well. Simon, starting with you.
Well, as always, just thanks very much to you, OC, and to the listening public, and please have your voice heard. Obviously, from hazard management's perspective, we're very worried about risk and vulnerability, human life and safety, but also property. And this is very relevant to us, not just for flooding events from hurricanes and tropical storms, but also the ongoing issue of chronic flooding as the water table under our feet, the groundwater rises, particularly as we see on these king tides and perigean tides. And as that sea rises, it's going to be an increasing issue for us in terms of, particularly our grey water and things like that, and just, flooding in general. So we think that this is really critical, and I think every one of us on this table was involved in the policy back in 2011. Really, it's reached a point, I think, there will always be, it would be nice to have more debate, more discussion, more input, hear from more people, because, some of the decisions, the implementation side of things are going to probably be a bit more controversial, and so it'd be nice to feel like we had more consensus of opinion. So if you can come out to Northside, the beautiful district of Northside, please come. I look forward to seeing you.
Tim, before you give yours, I'm going to read this. This person says, one interesting barometer of the lack of political interest and will in doing anything to protect the environment, and in particular the beaches, is how many private member motions have been brought to the Legislative Assembly or Parliament. None. Zero. That's what the person has written, and I want to thank them for, their contribution. Over to you, Tim.
Oh, thank you. Well, I'll dodge that one. Just to say thanks so much for having us on the show, and I've had a small part to do in this, but I'm so pleased that we've got this far, having been involved in the 2011, and the country really needs this, and And I would say whether you believe in climate change or not, the policy itself isn't just about climate. It's about sensible ways to do things. It would be good for the island to do it this way, regardless of whether the climate is changing. So I really encourage, I think I'm repeating myself from before, pick it up, read it, make sure that your concerns are addressed, make sure it's there. And yeah, as Simon says, come out and hear more if you need to at Northside. But thank you very much.
Okay, John?
Well, first of all, thanks for having me. It's always a pleasure to come and spend some time with you on the radio. I'd like to just say that the climate change policy itself it's not a Lisa's policy, it's not a John's policy, it's not a Simon's nor Austin's policy, it's a Cayman Islands policy. It's for everybody living on this island. So it is something that's critical for everyone, all right? There is one last opportunity to come out and be involved in the discussion and listen to what that's been inputted into the policy and how it affects you. And that's at the meeting in Northside tomorrow night. Would invite everybody to come out and give us a problem where we don't have enough seats to hold you. I'd prefer than that.
And you don't necessarily have to live in Northside to attend the meeting.
Right. And I might be a little bit off my beat here, but they've been providing food, so so it's something that we can just sit down and very unofficially have discussions about this, and you can give your input, and we can talk about the various things in the climate change policy.
Ms. Lisa?
Fantastic. The team has said it all, basically. Only left for me to say is 6 p.m. We'll be there, this team, and then some. There's probably double the amount of us always at the public meetings. Come out to the Northside Civic Center, 6 p.m. We'll be there at least until 8 or however long you wish to engage us. But also you can download the climate change policy and access the feedback survey at www.gov.ky/climate change policy. You can also feedback information to us at climate@gov.ky.
Okay, excellent. And I'm going to close off. I'm not going to have any closing comments, just going to read this one that one of our listeners shared earlier with us that I was unable to read. It says, we speak of Hurricane Ivan and its effects, but think of how little we learned in the process. We should have immediately implemented 1, a full protection on coastal mangroves, 2, building further back from the sea, 3, all structures should have to be built 2 to 3 feet higher, 4, CUC and internet providers should have to replace infrastructure with underground utilities, 5, deep wells need to be replaced with proper sewage treatment. If we start with these 5 initiatives, we would be helping ourselves and the next generation as well. Folks, have a great day. Join Sterling Dwayne Banks at 12:15 for Talk Today. And as usual, we ask the good Lord to bless these 3 beautiful, wonderful Cayman Islands.
For the Record, proudly brought to you by
Coca-Cola, available across the Cayman Islands from Tortuga Distributors. Accept no substitutes. Taste the feeling with Coca-Cola. Brand Source Home Gallery, inspiring luxury. West Bay Pharmacy, taking care of your health. And JN Money. From abroad to yard. Fast, affordable, convenient. Doctors Hospital. Peace of mind is important when life happens. Doctors Hospital. Always there for you. Call 949-6066. And by the STEPS 2023 National Health Survey. Visit gov.ky/steps to learn more. And Cayman Airways. Call them on 949-2311 to book your nonstop flights to Los Angeles and Panama.
Radio Cayman,
the voice,
the heart, the soul of the Cayman Islands.